All right, everyone, welcome back to podcast. I believe we're up to 7 of Strange Appalachia. Want to welcome everybody back. Didn't get to do this on Sunday because schedules got mixed up and we just didn't get to sit down. So we're going to try this thing tonight and see what happens. And as we talked about last time, we're going to do an episode tonight on black cats in the Appalachian Mountains, specifically large black cats. A lot of times you'll hear them called black panthers, um, or something to that effect. But it's sort of our theme for the month is Halloween themed. So we're going to be doing ghouls, goblins, ghosts, black panthers, stuff of that nature to sort of get in the spirit of Halloween. Hopefully, we're going to have an investigation. I'm still working on that. May have hit a snag with it, so we may have to end up punting that plan for now. But Charlie, you want to start us off with a couple of legends, couple of stories?
Yeah, we got some pretty good ones tonight. Native American legends. Uh, they call this thing the Wampus Beast, or just the word Wampus is used. And there's actually a really funny story with that and my father that if y'all ever meet me out, I'll get me to tell it. I don't really want to share it on the podcast, but it's a pretty funny story about him explaining what a Wampus cat is.
Don't
So
ask for it if you're not ready for some curse words.
yeah, it's pretty funny. So, but anyway, the first legend I'm going to share is the Wampus cat has to do with a group of hunters that went out in the forest to go on a sacred hunt, and a female tribesman wanted to know what these warriors were doing. And so when she went out, she dressed herself up as a black cat so they wouldn't see her. And of course, the medicine man caught her while she was hearing the sacred songs, and he cursed her to wear the black skin of a panther the rest of her life. And supposedly, that's why we see the black panthers in the forest screaming, is because it's the it's this squaw that was, you know, cursed. And so that legend actually is found in North Carolina. Now you go a little bit north up into Virginia, into Kentucky and parts of Tennessee, and you get a different story of the Wampus Beast. There was a spirit of fear that was moving through the tribes and it was killing people. And the shaman in the tribe decided to send warriors out to kill this spirit. Well, when the warriors went out to kill it, it killed all of them but one. And when he returned to the tribe, he was like a child, and they would only allow him to do the work of a child or a woman. It says so. He could work in the gardens. He could, tend to uh, like the leather. He could do the sewing and stuff like that, the cooking. But they wouldn't allow him to be a warrior anymore because he had the mind of a child. Well, his wife decided that she wanted revenge on this spirit, and so she went to the medicine man, and when she got to the medicine man, he told her that he had a special mask she could wear that would allow her to sneak up on this spirit, but that she had to cause the spirit to see its own reflection, and basically it would scare itself to death. And so this mask would turn her to a black cat. She was successful. She killed the spirit and returned to the tribe as a great warrior. And she was allowed to keep the mask in the honor. So the Wampus beast in this case is more of a protector. And it's interesting because you can go on farther north and it actually gets out of the Appalachian Mountains, but you get up around the Great Lakes and they have a creature. It's pronounced many different ways, but Mashimzaway is one of the ways it's pronounced, and it translates the uh, great underwater panther or great underwater cat, and it's described as a black cat that lives in the lakes themselves, swims around. It would flip boats over, kill people, eat them or whatever for food. And so that kind of ties into other legends of lake monsters. But this thing was a large black cat that lived in the lakes. And so Mashimzaway, some people see it as a protector totem or a tribal protector, and other people see it as a destroyer. So it's pretty awesome how these legends of these black cats have spread north, and they've changed as they've spread.
Yeah, I didn't find any real legends like that as I've been looking it up. I'm coming from more of the biology scientific background, so you want me to hit that a little?
Yeah, talk about it.
So in the biological aspect of it, obviously there are large cats all over the world that are or have the possibility of being black, as a coat color, as a fur color. But in the Appalachian region, those cats, number one, are not as large as most of the cats that are being reported. We have bobcats and things of that nature. But as far as mountain lions and what people would think of as a jaguar or a panther, you don't really see those anymore. They may have been native at one point. There's a lot of early settler reports of larger cats, but they've been hunted to extinction basically. And most scientists that you talk to are going to tell you that there are um, not any of those left in the Appalachian region. But what a lot of people don't realize is that the what most people would think of as the jaguar, the black typical black large cat, is actually native to the American Southwest, and they're sort of starting to make a comeback in that area based on several of the reports that I've read over this past week. And it's entirely possible that some of those things are trying to move farther to the east into the Appalachian Mountains. And it's possible that even if they're not a breeding population, there may be, not a family of them, but there may be one or two that are just moving through the area trying to find food, trying to get somewhere else. Or it could be a mountain lion or um, I don't really want to say a large bobcat because bobcats are sort of notorious for the no tail thing. And most of these large black cats you see reports of have a long tail, so that wouldn't be a bobcat. But it could be a mountain lion that is melanistic. Basically, it's all one color and specifically black. So that's one possible biological explanation. And the other one is and we come back to this with most of our stories is mistaken identity. Somebody sees a house cat, it's at a pretty good distance, and they just think, hey, that thing's really dadgum big, and think it's a big cat, but it's a house cat, which obviously is very common to come in the color black.
Yeah, quite a bit smaller. I've had two encounters with black panthers, and I keep saying black panthers, but the word panther is almost always associated with a large black cat. And the two I
And,
had both occurred around the Cracker's Neck area. What are you going
and
to say,
to,
JD?
to interject real quick before you tell your stories, when we say Black Panther, we're not talking about the superhero.
Absolutely. Yeah, no Wakanda in Southwest Virginia for sure.
Certainly.
So, the two encounters that I had in a black panther, the first one was driving from Eastone Gap into Cracker's Neck, and it crossed the road in front of me pretty quickly. And when I saw it, I couldn't really believe what I had saw. It was a large cat. It had a long black tail, and it was quick. I mean, I probably didn't take 5 seconds for it to move across the road or less. And so wasn't really even sure what I saw. But the second time I saw it, I was actually coming from down Back Valley Road going toward Big Stone Gap. And it was probably about 11:30 at night, and there's a barn that had a light on it that the light no longer works, but at the time it was working. And there was a black panther. It's the largest black cat I've ever seen in my life, and it was under that light. And when I first saw it, I thought it was a German Shepherd, to give you an idea of how big this cat was. I would guess it would weigh 120, 130 pounds. And I actually pulled up beside it and sat there for about 10 minutes and watched this cat. So it wasn't something that was fleeting. I had time to observe it. And the only thing I can say, it was the biggest black cat I've ever seen in my life. And it acted just like a cat. It, you know, rolled around, it pretended to ignore me even though it wanted me to pay attention to it. I actually rolled the window down and called kitty 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 to it, and it didn't like that. Um, it kind of got its attention, and then it jumped the guardrail and went out through a field, and it was gone. I can tell you it had the longest tail I've ever seen on a cat. the tail was at least as long as the body was. And so I've got a theory, and who knows how much it'll end up being right or not. But I believe that if there is a population of mountain lions, and I think there is because we found the tracks, that maybe that there's a genetic mutation that causes them to be black and have long tails. Now, once again, I don't know. I don't have anything to prove that or document that, but it's just something that makes sense to me.
Right. I've had a couple of people give me fairly reliable stories about their experiences and their encounters. And the one that I always go back to, and I'm not going to mention names here, because if they ever listen to this, they'll probably hurt me if I did. But I've got a buddy that is very knowledgeable of the woods, knows everything in them, and I mean I'm still learning stuff from this guy today. Just every time I'm around him, it seems like I learn something new when we're in the woods. But his story I feel is one of the most credible because it actually comes from his wife, and his wife is credible in my mind because I don't feel like she's knowledgeable enough to have just made something up. And on the downside to that, it's also she doesn't know enough to, help substantiate any of these claims. But she was driving home from work one day at the top of the mountain coming down from High Knob, which, if you follow the mountain straight up from where you saw yours, it's the same mountain. We're talking less than 5 miles to where she saw this one. She was driving down the 4 lane. It crossed the road in front of her and climbed up the sort of rock wall that's there. And that's not something that's going to be easily done by any creature that's native to this area. Climbing up those rocks, and she says that it basically made it look easy to climb these things. And that's definitely something that isn't going to happen. But she said the same thing, like you said about size. It's, the size of a large dog. I forget which one you said, but I believe she said a Great Dane.
Yeah, I
Which
thought German Shepherd when I saw it.
still, either way, it's a large dog. But she mentioned the same thing about the tail, that the tail was as long as the body, if not longer, which is definitely strange. And, something that big to have a tail that big, there's nothing in the Appalachian Mountains that you can mistake for that. Now, again, the drawback there is, could she have seen a black house cat and misjudged its size? Absolutely. But he was definitely very intrigued by it. Her husband, and unfortunately, it was raining, so it wasn't like he could go up and look for tracks or anything like that because they're just going to be washed away by that point. But that's definitely sort of in the same area that you saw yours, and probably that would have happened about the same time frame. Are we talking about 10 years ago?
Nah, it'd have been a little bit longer than
15,
that.
maybe
15 probably.
15. Yeah.
Yeah, I,
So
I always thought that maybe the animal I saw was the same animal that I saw twice because it was within 10 miles. And of course, the range of a cat is huge.
yes,
And so it's a possibility she may have even saw the same animal. Once again, don't know for sure, but it seems something that seems pretty feasible or logical to me.
yeah. I mean, I don't have any evidence that would disprove that because again, if there is a population of mountain lions or panthers or whatever your word you want to use for them, they're going to have a large range. We're talking 50 to 150 miles, depending on food source and water. And we're going through a drought right now. So if these things are still in this area or borderline drought, they're going to be moving around a lot more. So if anybody's got any evidence of this stuff, let us know.
Yeah, one of the things I always think is interesting is that as a culture in the Appalachian Mountains and almost the entirety of the mountains, no matter how far north or south you go, we have a word, and that word is panther, and it means large black cat, even though they're unsubstantiated. The other thing, when I was in college and I talked to a guy about this in college, he was a college professor of biology. He said he believed that I'd saw somebody's pet that had got loose, and that is a possibility. Maybe somebody had a pet jaguar or something that had gotten loose. I kind of doubt it. It's one of those things I feel like that we would hear about, somebody's escaped jaguar.
Yeah,
But,
and
that's
same thing
always,
for if it got out of a zoo. There's a couple of zoos in the area, but
yeah,
you would have heard if something got out.
it's always a possibility, I guess. So,
Yeah, I'm still doing a little research as we're talking here, and I've found a report that wildlife officials confirmed that in western Tennessee in 2015 there was a wildlife camera that caught a picture of a mountain lion, which again is supposed to be extinct from the area.
yeah,
So if that's 2015, they're around. I just don't think they're super common. But I think it's definitely something that's way more plausible than some of the other stuff we've talked about. Bigfoot, Dogman, stuff like that. I believe this is definitely something that has a shot of being active in this area, that somebody might find it.
yeah, something that's more real for sure, or has more of a chance of being real. Because the eastern mountain lion is the one that's extinct. The western mountain lion, I think it's doing okay, or it's coming out of extinction. Let's say it that way. And
Yes,
they believe it's spreading back into the east. So
but again, specifically the color black is not necessarily common in those creatures. So again, the black panther or black large cat would definitely stand out in any study.
yeah, it definitely would. I mean, the one I saw, it was unbelievably sleek. Like, I don't know even how to describe it. And it was jet black. Just the blackest thing you've ever seen. And probably part of that was fear of seeing it. I mean, I was in a truck and I was within 10 feet of it. So it's pretty terrifying. It's a pretty scary thing to think that, while you're out camping or hiking, this thing's out here running around.
Yeah. Yep.
So I know there's a reason why they fear tigers in India.
Absolutely. Those things will tear you up.
Yeah. Well, got any news of the weird this week?
Uh, I have not seen anything. Have you?
Nothing really. The last really weird news report I saw was the guy that filmed three Bigfoot about 3 weeks ago. I know
Yeah,
you've seen that video. It looked pretty fake.
I definitely feel like that one was fake, but you know, running around all over the place this week, I've not really had time to look at much of the strange news. Um,
Yeah,
so
I reached out to that guy to try to get an interview with him. I sent him a message, and of course he didn't send anything back. So
that's about normal. Um, again, I think you ready to wrap this thing up.
yeah, close it out.
Again, as always, if you like what you hear, like and subscribe. Let us know what you think, good or bad. We're open to constructive criticism. You yell at us in all caps or whatever, we might tune you out. But if there's something you'd like to hear us do, talk about, something we can improve on, let us know. We're always looking for advice. Um, like and subscribe if you like what you hear. And like I said, hopefully we've got some kind of investigations that we're going to try to do this month. Just hope we get to do the ones we originally had planned. Um, but that's all I've got. Charlie, anything to add?
Yeah, same thing. Maybe we'd out in the woods Saturday. That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see y'all next week.